I'm about to show you my Familiar Possessed deck that I built for only $30 using 3 copies of the Spirit Charmers structure deck. You'll be able to summon boss monsters like Greater Inari Fire directly from the deck. You'll have different ways to negate your opponent's monster effects with cards like Effect Wheeler or a powerful field spell. Where the deck really shines is the ability to stack massive attack points against your opponent. This is the idea I built the deck around, and it'll be the core strategy to win duels. Who doesn't love having a 6,000 attack monster on your side of the field? In order to do that, we're going to use different attributes of the Familiar Possessed cards. So I chose doing 1 copy of each of the familiar cards in order to have the different attributes. They also all have the 1850 attack and 1500 defense, which does come into play later. I am running 1 copy of Awakening of the Possessed, Greater Inari Fire, and 3 copies of Inari Fire in this deck. Greater Inari Fire is able to be special summoned from your deck, so I'm only running 1 copy because I don't want him to end up in my hand, really. So a quick tip for you about Greater Inari Fire is don't waste your special summon unless your opponent has monsters on the field. If you do, you lose the opportunity to take their life points. I'm running 3 copies of Inari Fire because I want to be able to get this card and special summon him. You can only run 1 copy at a time, but it's not that hard to be able to tribute him and summon. We're also running 1 copy of Awakening of the Possessed, Nefarious or Archfiend, and 2 copies of Nefarious Archfiend, Eater of the Nefariousness. I chose that I liked the effect of Greater Inari Fire better than Nefarious or Archfiend, but you can flip which way you're running it depending on the effect that you like. So again, he is a special summon from your hand. He is a special summon of your deck, so only 1 copy of him. We are running 3 copies of Fairy Tale Luna. When she is normal summoned, you can add a spellcaster monster with 1850 attack from your deck to your hand. So that allows you to search either for her or any of your Familiar Possessed monsters. We're running 3 copies of Effect Wheeler because who doesn't love a good hand trap? But also because it is a spellcaster card, if you end up with it in your hand, you can summon it. Summon one of your Inari Fire or Nefarious Archfiend, Eater of Nefariousness, and be able to special summon Familiar Possessed card from your deck. Or Awakening of the Possessed card, sorry. And then we're running 2 copies of Witchcrafter Golem Aruru. The reason we're doing that is because so many of them are spellcaster cards. This one is a great one to have so you can special summon it if your opponent targets any of your spellcaster monsters that you control for attack or through a card effect. It's a nice way to get another special summon in there, and it is a little bit of a higher attack. She does return to your hand, so you can kind of repeat that process and it sends your opponent's monster back to their hand. So that's a nice effect there too. I don't have any Witchcrafter cards in the deck, so I'm not worried about getting them back into my hand from my graveyard. I'm running 1 copy of Regeki. I do really like destroying all of my opponent's monsters when I can. It is a limited card though. We're running 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. It negates the effect of all face-up monsters that the opponent controls until the end of the turn, but they don't take any damage after, so it is something to be aware of with that. Neither player can activate monster effects in response to the card activation, but they can activate card effects still. We're running 3 copies of Spirit Charmers. Discard 1 card, and you get to search for your specific cards in your deck. Set 1, add the other to your hand. So you can search with this card whether you choose to Familiar Possessed monsters. Again, we don't have the Charmer monster, so that's not important. Possessed spells or traps. Which brings us to running 3 copies of Awakening of the Possessed. This is the one that with every different attribute, you're adding attack to your monsters. We're running 3 copies so we can really boost that attack as much as we can. 2 copies, Grand Spiritual Art Ikrin, and 1 copy of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. If you're playing against a deck that is running a really spell heavy deck, this is a great way to be able to halt them in their tracks. With Secret Village of the Spellcasters, don't lock yourself out of playing your own spells. So make sure you control a spellcaster monster. But if they're not, this one's a really good one. Most people play with an effect deck. All of our cards are effect monsters. Thankfully, this one doesn't affect us, but it could affect them. So it negates the first monster effect that resolves each turn. as long as you control a spellcaster monster with 1500 defense. So that is, again, all of the familiar possessed cards that we have. Don't forget, you have to control a familiar possessed monster for you to be able to use the effect of Grand Spiritual Art Ichrin. We're running 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 copy of Metaverse, so that we're able to search for those cards when we need to. They are both limited, so 1 copy max. We're running 2 copies of Possessed Partnership. This one, again, allows you to special summon spellcaster monster with 1500 defense from your hand or graveyard in attack position or face down defense position. And then if you have 2 or more different attributes, again, those attributes are a big thing, you can destroy 1 face-up card on the field. And then if it's in your graveyard, you can banish it and add a possessed continuous spell or trap from your graveyard to your hand. So Awakening of the Possessed would be what we're going for there. Running 2 copies of Unpossessed. Charmer monsters, again, we don't have any in this deck, so that part about them not being destroyed by battle doesn't really affect us. But if a familiar possessed monster that we control attacks an opponent's monster, they gain 800 attack during damage calc. So again, trying to power up our monsters as much as we can. And then we're running 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Most people have an extra deck, and so this kind of allows you to pause them if you can. And then it also negates the declared type effects of all monsters of that type while they're on the field. So it's not just this turn. So if they already have a fusion card down, they go to fusion summon again, you can activate this. Say they can't fusion summon, you can't that turn either. But it also negates the effect of the fusion monster as long as it's out on the field. That's the deck. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. If you did, be sure to like the video below. Also subscribe to the channel for more content, and we'll see you next time. Bye!